brief disclaimer. I still own a substantial number of Facebook shares. So that should inform you as to the sincerity of the words which I'm about to utter, as they do not align with my own financial self-interest. The First Amendment in our Bill of Rights protects our ability to speak openly on any subject with any viewpoint. We have the right to go to the public square, to shout our opinions, to convince people of our ideas, to galvanize change, or to be deemed a crazy loon. But the public square has morphed into the platforms owned by big tech. Twitter, Facebook, Google, where one's message can reach millions of people at a time. In order to catalyze change, conveying one's message on these platforms is a necessity. Most of us believe that our viewpoints have merit. After all, why else would we be espousing them? And who doesn't want their voice to be heard, their opinions to matter? And that includes, of course, Jack Dorsey, Mark Zuckerberg, and the heads of Google. Now imagine that you're one of these internet heads of state, and how tempting it would be that just maybe, the messages that you agree with prosper a little bit more. And then a weensy bit more. And then you amplify them a smidge. And then suddenly you get an idea. Bam! Why not just silence the voices of evil altogether? Like, for example, those who were spreading disinformation last year. I speak about, of course, the conspiracy theory that the COVID virus might have leaked from the Wuhan biolaboratory. The powers that be, the Democratic Party, the corporate media, sternly informed us that this theory was racist and, of course, Trumpian, as he and Republican Senator and ally Tom Cotton were proponents, along with slightly inconveniently a few of the very brave scientists, like Brett Weinstein, for example, who, in the interest of actual science, were willing to stick their necks out, while the good people of the world did all they could to hack them off. But in fairness, on the other side, you had tons of fact-checking being done, by which I mean one media source verifying the other.
Have the goddamn common courtesy to give him a reach around.
In a corrupt and circular exercise until it was and became a tightly knit ball of yarn. A yarn it was. Plus, Donald Trump said it. And one thing for sure, Orange Man bad. Wuhan lab leak theory debunked. Action. Hide the comments, the posts, or kick the perpetrators off of the platforms altogether.
Unwelcome are the voices of dissent.
Get these deranged, moronic, conspiracy nutjobs out of here. What's that? First Amendment? Let me inform you something. This is a private platform. Don't bring that bunk in here.
But force ye to bake us a wedding cake, we will.
And that is exactly what was demonstrated in the Project Veritas expose of Facebook via the whistleblower. If you're not aware of it, what took place were that comments and posts on Facebook were graded by algorithms, and if discovered to be promoting vaccine hesitancy, they were suppressed. That means if you had dubious thoughts on the topic and brought them to the new public square without you knowing it, your voice was muffled, unheard, silenced, as though yelling in a vacuum. Shout as loud as you want. No one is going to hear you. This is actually a huge deal. A huge deal. Why, you ask? Because it is completely Orwellian. This is 1984 sprung to life. This is the Ministry of Truth deciding what information can be disseminated, what can be circulated, what you are allowed to think. This is literally the thought police. They always know what is better for us. They are our superiors. Have an independent thought? Not if it contradicts the science, promoted, of course, by the elites in charge. At minimum, you were covertly silenced. Or perhaps you were just kicked off the platform altogether. This is the control of information, the hypnotization of the mind to one narrative. And again, how exactly is this following the science? You see, the scientific method involves taking all the potential hypotheses and then disproving them one at a time. Is dismissing the observation that the Wuhan Institute of Virology, a level 4 biolab where they were researching coronaviruses, and this happened to be the exact spot where the COVID-19 virus first made its appearance in the human population? Explain to me how that is a nutty hypothesis? Hypothesizing that it might have escaped from the lab? No, shut that down. The same way that they shut down the Hunter Biden laptop story pre-election. The same way that Facebook is covering up any potential ideas of vaccine hesitancy. Not if it counters our narrative. It doesn't belong on our platforms. The question to ask, who has benefited from this? China, who got to cover up at minimum the sloppiness in releasing the virus, assuming that is the case. Maybe Anthony Fauci and his associates, who allegedly were directly involved in funding the gain of function research. And thus maybe they'd be on the hook for its release. The Democrats and the neoliberal establishment that got the political gift of being able to pin this all on Donald Trump and the Republicans. Not to mention the media that aided and abetted them in this pinning to the tune of billions and billions of dollars worth of outrage. I think that we collectively should be outraged at the media and the Dems. What about the blue state governors who shut down their economies, kept children home from school, and raised the misery index to hell-like elevations in an exercise to see how strongly the public would be able to resist their muscles of control in the future? How about Wall Street, for whom the excuse to print trillions of dollars inflated the price of their assets? You think that the inflation is going to benefit the average Joe? They threw breadcrumbs at the majority of the population while they served the wealthy filet mignon. The lies the media and the politicians on the left told have had far-reaching ramifications. Early on, our aforementioned senator from Arkansas, Tom Cotton, stated the merits of the lab leak theory. The common reaction in elite liberal circles, a Washington Post reporter called it a fringe theory that has been repeatedly disrupted by experts. The Atlantic Council accused Cotton of abetting an infodemic by pushing the debunked claim that the novel coronavirus might have escaped from the Wuhan lab. A writer for Vox said it was a dangerous conspiracy theory being advanced by conservatives known to regularly spew nonsense and bash China. China. You want to believe these people in the future? So why did they state these things? Because they want control. Because they want power. The elites, in their infinite knowledge and like-caring parents, and they are neither our parents nor particularly caring, know what is best for us, for the country, for the world. Thus, the Democrats aligned with woke Silicon Valley and the corporate press to stifle and destroy dissent. And on a human level, it's very easy to understand. When such power is available to any individual, the temptation to misuse it is so great, it takes a Gandhi or a Mother Teresa to resist. And I don't think that anybody is going to be comparing Mark Zuckerberg or Kamala Harris to Mahatma Gandhi anytime soon.
Do you have plans to visit the border?
Not today.
And what has always been the goal of those with the reins of power, from the deification of the kings of antiquity to Joseph Goebbels' propaganda of the Third Reich, opinions have actively been injected into the population, into us by the establishment, by their press, and this had to be done in conjunction with drowning out the voices of dissent that might interfere with this process. And it's never been easier than today with the power that is wielded by big tech. Why do you think that so many in our population hated Donald Trump with such vehemence? It's because CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times pounded any negative, real or made up, into the minds of individuals until it created a mental disorder so pronounced it was actually given a name: Trump derangement syndrome. That is how much they loathed Donald Trump for upsetting the balance of power that had previously existed in our country. If Trump or Tom Cotton said that maybe, just maybe, the virus leaked from the Wuhan lab, shut it down. Shut down that possibility. Tell the people our truth. I'll speak our truth and implant it into the minds of the public, because we know what is best. We have power to grab and an election to win. What Project Veritas did via their Facebook expose is up there in terms of its protection and value to our freedom as any journalism done in history. Why do I say this? Because they have blown the lid off of the Ministry of Truth's ascent to power. They have set them back. They have brought to the forefront how your voice, how our voices have been muffled in the new public square, how our opinions are controlled and manipulated. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't come here and offer a solution. These digital public squares, we have to begin to treat them as utilities, where everyone has equal access and every voice has an equal opportunity to be heard. These are essentially monopolies. You want to go ahead and build your own? You want to be the competition? Well, as unfortunately Parler discovered, they built an alternative, and the powers that be, the elite, found a BS excuse to shut them down. Even though most of the planning for January 6th, the riot on the Capitol, took place on Facebook. They attributed that to Parler because it was politically convenient. And with that sword of Damocles hanging over their heads, why wouldn't Zuck and company continue to do the bidding of the neoliberal establishment? Especially since, as a reward, an upstart competitor was vaporized. Free speech? Sure, but only if you agree with the party in power. The attempt to centralize this power has only just begun, and that is why Project Veritas's expose is so earth-shattering. It's why you couldn't be heard when you spoke out about the lab leak. It's why you couldn't tweet out the New York Post story on the Hunter Biden laptop. Or if you tried to do so on Facebook, they just surreptitiously silenced you. And it's why your voice is being actively silenced if you have any hesitancy regarding the vaccine. The monopoly control over speech in the public square must be stopped immediately. It goes against my own financial self-interest, as I stated at the top, but I care more about my children being able to live in freedom with the ability to express themselves rather than being amongst the wealthy and living under Big Brother and the Orwellian future that is quickly being manifested. And for those of you who regularly express your thoughts, who passionately do so, I ask you to juxtapose your energy, your voice, versus my two really good friends, Mark and Jack, who, while remaining completely mute, with a mere push of the button, promote the agreed upon beliefs of the elites while silencing and suppressing yours. And I ask you, who has the loudest voice of all? Guys, please thumb up this video and share the video. If you're new, feel free to subscribe, hit the all notification bell. YouTube, of course, will do everything they can to silence videos like this with a different thought process than the neoliberals, elites who are in charge. Peace and blessings, and have a fabulous day.